Yeah, I love it. Shows when I'm playing, but at the same time, the more I do it, the business side of it is also there, and it does take away a little bit of the love from it. The life things you just learn through golf. It's a proper lifestyle. You play golf, you know what it's like. It's like the ups and downs, even in a round of golf. It's mad.
Especially for me, Ewan.
Yeah. Imagine doing it in bloody Singapore or Japan or China or somewhere like that when you're so far away from home and you're dealing with these ups and downs. It's like recognizing all the little battles you're having to deal with day to day. And I just had something. I was always practicing. I was doing everything professional, like a professional before I was. I had my routines, I had my warm up routines. I had everything I was doing properly. Other kids would be like, "What's he up to?" I was always doing everything so right.
Before we dive into this episode, I want to ask you to hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. It helps keep growing the channel and keep getting fantastic guests like this one. Ewan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And we get to do it out here in Dubai, which is probably the coolest part.
Yeah, no, Dubai's a pretty cool place, isn't it? It's inspiring to be here all the time.
For sure. But I'm quite fortunate that I know quite a lot of your early story just by the fact that we grew up in the same hometown. But for the listeners, I want to go back to the start in terms of when did you first kind of fall in love with the game of golf?
Probably my dad made me fall in love with it. He was always quite a good golfer, winning club championships and stuff like that. And I remember just going to the golf when I was young, watching him do well and thinking, he's so cool. Not that he's not now, but just like at the time, everyone at the club always thought, he's what a golfer Mark is and stuff. And I remember thinking like, I want to be a good golfer. I want people to think I'm a great golfer. And that always kind of inspired me to practice. I wanted to practice so much because, watching him was always good for me. And I used to caddy for him, see him like do well. It was, just at a club and county level and sometimes a national level. And I just thought it was so cool. So that's why I kind of got into this and got so motivated.
Because when I think of when I first heard your name, and I think you and Cameron came across and joined Hilton for a couple of years, but you were still playing out of Bearsden. It was a case of, that's Mark's son Ewan.
Yeah.
And now I guess it's maybe the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. No, he hates that, so he does. But yeah, me and my best friend from my childhood joined Hilton Park, and we always represented Bearsden. But my dad was very keen on having us play loads of different courses. We joined Douglas Park, Hilton Park, Windy Hill, all the courses in that kind of little area, just because he wanted us to be able to play all these different courses, hit all these different shots. Which I think was great for my development, meeting different people like yourself, dealing with things, and it kind of helps you. I remember playing when I was like 11 years old at Dullator and thinking I was homesick, so far away from home.
Out to Cumbernauld.
25 minutes away from Bearsden. So, I now obviously still get a bit of that sometimes, but I'll be in like Africa or Japan or somewhere. So, but yeah, unfortunately, Cameron kind of fell in love with the game a little bit, and I stuck to it and kind of stayed inspired. And
what
motivated.
do you think kept you going?
Honestly, there was just this thing around like me being like the golfer. It was always just like you and the golfer, and I just think I was just like, I'm a golfer. I mean, I dropped out of high school when I was 14 in Bearsden, went over to high school in the States.
I remember this. Yeah, that was a big move.
Yeah, massive. I remember I was practicing in Glasgow in December, and I came home and I said to my mum picked me up, and I said, I want to go to America or something. I can't practice here. I can't get better. And she was like, you need to say to your dad. And I thought, you need to say to him, I can't. He'll be raging. I said to him, literally the next week, he booked me flights for me and him to go and visit schools in the States. Next thing you know, I was, started the next semester. I was out there playing all the time, playing massive tournaments against, like all the guys like you're seeing now, like Scheffler, Joaquin Niemann, all like Sam Burns, all the guys, like we're all the same age, playing against tournaments against them back then in AGG, American Junior events, US amateurs and stuff. And now, it's just pretty cool that
you put yourself in the right environment. And I think from my understanding of like the golf pathway, a lot of people do that for college or uni.
Yeah.
But for you to go early was probably a sign of intent, like, I'm really serious about this.
Yeah, I did want to go to college and uni, but after I'd done the kind of high school thing, I thought, I've got quite good now and I just don't want to, like, do another 4 years of schooling or anything. I hated school. I was never that good at school. I remember, like, phoning my dad and being like, Dad, like, the weather's amazing. There's this big tournament this weekend. Can I just not go to school today and just practice for it? My dad would just be like, yeah, all right. And I don't know if that's probably the best thing
It's
for
so
him
important
to
that
do,
he got it though. Like he really backed you to chase what you're wanting to chase.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know if I would do that with my kid. I don't know if I'd, but maybe he just seen something in me that he just thought that he's got it. He knows he can do it. I think I remember coming back to like Bearsden and telling someone that I just finished like, I don't know, 18th in a tournament. They'd be like, "Oh, it's a big tough world out there, that golf world." My dad would be like, "Don't worry, he'll be fine." I remember just thinking like, why does he always think I'll be fine? But he was right.
You need people to believe in you.
Yeah, you do. I think like definitely like my dad and my brother would never let anyone get in the way of my golf. I always had some people like throwing some like maybe like shades my way in terms of like other people that were doing better than me at the time that were my age, and they were always just like, Ian's got it, like he'll be good in his own time, and I always promised my brother, I always said, look, we always had 5-year plans. We had 15, 20, 25. Everything was going so well, and then all of a sudden I was 25 and I was like, oh no. But I promised everyone I'd win on tour when I was 25, and I managed to hold that promise by a few months. So yeah, I like to keep that one going, and then I've got another one for 30, which is obviously keep to myself. But it's pretty cool that we can do that, and I can try and hold on to that, and that's what keeps me practicing so hard. Yeah,
it's so key to have mentors and role models, but having people in your circle that back you. And that's not to have like people that are yes men that are like, oh, you're so great, especially if maybe you're not practicing as hard, or maybe you're maybe being tempted by other parts of the lifestyle. Yeah. Like how many young guys show a lot of promise in maybe football or rugby or golf in Scotland as young guys, and then get tempted away by partying and girls and drinking?
It's so common. I think that's another reason I kind of wanted out of like a little bit of like the Glasgow bubble, in terms of, you see like a football player that's, super young, so talented, and they think it's done. They think they've made it. I think it's different in golf. It's a very humbling game. There's not like a crazy amount of spotlight on you unless you're a superstar. But obviously it's a very high earning potential, and you can still live a very glamorous lifestyle a little bit more under the radar than a football player, I would say. But it's very humbling. You need to be, you're not promised a weekly wage. You don't get injured and have to play. I just told you last week, like I had a sore neck and I felt like I just had to keep going. I played through like a super sore neck. I mean, if I was a football player, or I don't know what other sports, I probably wouldn't have played. My neck was probably too sore to play. Up. But I thought, I need to. You have to, and I think that's why golf's like a really humbling game. Keeps you on your toes at all times. I've won tournaments, and the next week, like, not played that well. And no matter what, I think if you're playing bad, you need to get better. If you're playing really well, you need to get better. No matter what, you just need to get better, and there's never any complacency. And I think getting out of Glasgow and just doing my own thing and concentrating on myself helped me, because it's a massive world out there, and a lot of people get sucked into just like this little small town mind.
You're right. What were the maybe early stages as a junior that maybe indicated that you were going to go on to have the kind of career you've had?
When I was under 16, I would win like Scottish under 16 championships, and Irish under 16s, and people from all over the world come, all over Europe and the USA and everything, come over and play these tournaments. And I just had something. I was always practicing. I was doing everything professional, like a professional before I was. I had my routines, I had my warm up routines, I had everything I was doing properly. Other kids would be like, "What's he up to?" I was always doing everything so right. I always had people out with me at tournaments, whether it was my brother or my dad, watching. I had caddies when I was young, really learning how to do everything right. And just think like winning, doing well made me get better, just made me want to get better as well. And I never stopped. I always kind of gradually got better and just felt like I was on the right path.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think there's always times that you need almost reminders that you're making those steps towards something. And when I was looking up some of your stats and stuff like that, I know that you won the British boys title and the Scottish boys and the stroke play all at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that anyone had done that in forever, like 10, 15 years, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Moments like that are maybe that bit of reassurance that maybe I'm a bit of an outlier in terms of how many guys are brilliant club golfers and maybe brilliant amateur golfers at under 16, but then how many make the step to pro or where you went to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember but just every step I was playing against people who were the best in the world at that time. Yeah. And then, some guys went on to be the best in the world right now and some guys didn't. But I always felt like I could compete against them. And I played in the Walker Cup when I was 19 against DeChambeau, Maverick McNeely, all these guys.
You beat McNeely, didn't you? I'm sure.
Yeah, I beat Maverick on the last hole. Bo Hosler beat me on the last hole the next day. And, we're all like competing against each other and, I was spending time around them, playing US amateurs against the guys. I was traveling like worldwide, doing it all, and I just felt comfortable. I always felt comfortable. I always felt like I knew what I was doing with my game.
What do you put that down to, you in that level of confidence?
I just feel like I'm quite inwardly confident. I'm not like really outwardly confident. I actually probably was when I was younger, way more outwardly confident. But now I just believe in myself. I've got like a constant drive in my own head. I'm always thinking about it. Like I've got a day off I've got a week off this week, but I'll always be thinking about like, I can't eat that because I won't be feeling good. I can't drink that because that will make me not feel good the next day. Or, I probably need to stretch that. Or even on my days off, I still need to hit balls for an hour to keep my body moving. Like it never ends. It's always in my head. And I think like having that in my head all the time. I remember even like you were saying you're friends with Ali back home. He would say to me, "You want to go and do this?" And I'd be like, "I need to hit balls first in the rain for an hour." He'd be like, "You're hitting balls in that? Going to practice?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he always brings it up. He's like, "I can't believe you used to go and practice in that blue jacket. Remember that blue jacket?" I'd be like, I don't know how he remembers that, but it just goes to show you, like, even you know,
need to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest challenges you can have is, as a kid in particular, we want to fit in the tribe.
Yeah.
Because evolutionary, if we were excluded, we would die in the savannah. Yeah. So nowadays, if somebody's like, "Look, do you want to come for a beer at the parlour? Or do you want to go to Wonder Bar?" Like that's the normal thing to do for these young guys, and the temptation is to go and adhere to that. But if it doesn't align with your goals and your purpose and where you want to push towards, you need to say no, and only your true friends will understand that and stay with you. And many people will just move away from you, and you'll play your own path.
Definitely, and I think also there's a fine line between still having a little bit of fun and knowing when it is the time where you can have some fun, chill out, take your mind away from it. I mean, I have some friends from home come out here for a week, stay with me, and we just have a fun time for a week. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm dying to go and get better at golf. So you need to kind of starve yourself from that and make yourself really hungry as well, and just kind of balancing it as well as possible. And I think I'm really good at that.
I was going to say, have you always been able to switch off from golf and have that week away or that time away?
Like I say, I really struggle to get totally switch off from it. It's always in my mind. Like I'm always thinking about, you know, even when I'm having dinner with close friends, even right now, like back in my mind, I'm still thinking like, later on I probably need to go and do some putting. You know, it's constant, like, on
You've
my
got
mind.
a real love for the game, and I think that's really refreshing, because for some people, and I guess maybe you know with this more than others on tour, it's more of a job.
Yeah.
It's definitely a job and a career for you. I understand that there's fiscal element to it, but you love playing golf. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, I love it. Shows when I'm playing, but at the same time, the more I do it, the business side of it is also there, and it does take away a little bit of the love from it, and it's trying to get back to that place all the time. So a couple of times where I'm thinking, I need to go and do that, and it's not because I actually want to or I love doing it or going places that I love, you know, some courses I don't like. I'm doing it for like the business side of it, but at the same time I always need to remind myself, like, right, get back to it. I mean, I still watch videos of the 18-year-old me playing and the way I looked, the way I acted, and I think, right, let's get back to that a little bit, you know.
Almost a little bit more joyful.
Yeah, a little bit more joyful, a little bit the way I walked, the way I talked, the way I watch it, I'm thinking, that just looks so
Have you spoken
refreshing.
to someone about this? Because it's interesting the way you're framing it, like a psychologist or a coach.
I've always worked with psychologists, not at the moment, but all this year and all the last bunch of years. always like doing a lot of psychology stuff. It's a massive part of the game. Delving into someone's head. It's a really cool one story. Let me try and get this right. But if you've seen a snake, right? I'm shit scared of snakes. So if I've seen a snake, I'd be like, I'm going nowhere near that snake, right? You'd run away from it, wouldn't you? But if you've seen a snake going towards your kid, you wouldn't think twice. You'd go straight towards that snake, wouldn't you? And it's similar with golf for me. Sometimes I feel like I'm anxious. There's snakes, you know. I'm scared of snakes. I'm scared of that first tee. I'm scared of this shot. That's my job. That's my life. I'm playing for my kids. I'm playing for my family. I'll grab that snake. Let's get it. So, you know, it's a cool little story, that. And I'm always, little things like that inspire me all the time. I'm 100%. Always kind of working around these little stories, and they always get me. I'm a sucker for that.
Away from the podcast, I work in sales, and I'm a big believer that facts tell, stories sell.
Yeah.
And that there, somebody could say to you, and it's your job, you need to go and seize it. But they've told you in a way about the snake.
Absolutely.
And it's sold it to you where you're like, and in the same way, like when I coach some young sales guys, and sometimes I'll be like, oh, like, have you followed up with that prospect that you've been trying to contact? And they'll be like, no. I'll be like, oh, have you done your combo prospecting? So I label it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're then able to be like, oh, I haven't done my combo on that client. In the same way for you, you've been able to bring this to life and be like, right, now's the time to go. And we as humans are always looking for labels for things and ways that we can explain them. So I love that.
And everyone's different, aren't they? Like, little triggers work for different people. That stuff, I'm like, oh, I love that. Like, you know, and still now, shots last week, I'm like, oh, I don't like this one. I'm like, snakes. I'm scared.
I was going to ask this because I've heard some golfers speak before about maybe like particular mantras or phrases or things they use to almost anchor themselves on the course before like a difficult shot or maybe a playoff hole or something like that. Do you have anything that you like go back to apart from maybe stuff like the snakes?
Not really, to be honest. I work so hard on my routine. So my routine's always like perfect before a hit and after a hit. So I'm so concentrated on that routine side of things to make it perfect. And it's a little bit of a getaway from the shot. I'm exactly what I'm trying to do before the shot, what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to hit, and then hit. So almost like there's no time to be thinking of mantras, this or that, or superstitions, or any of these things. You know, I actually try and fight away from superstitious stuff. Like, if I use a marker and play well with it, I'm not really, I need to use that tomorrow. I'll actually try and use a different one, because I'm like, trying to like...
Some people, like, you could call it a crutch.
Yeah.
And if you have something you're always relying on, say like, oh, this particular driver, and I know you guys will change your clubs regularly because you'll wear them down.
Course, yeah.
Whereas the club golfer is like, no, that's my driver. I've been driving for 15
for
years.
life. Yeah, got an R7 from God knows when.
Back when you were first starting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'm very much like that. Like, even like guys don't use number 3s on their golf ball because like 3-putt. But I'm like, birdies are 3s, eagles are 3s. So, you know, I'm always just trying. I use number 1s the first day, number 2s the second day, 3s and then 4s. Just stick with that all the time, just because I'm like, no, that's just the way it is. Just organise routines, like I said, stick with it and just let it happen, you know, and back myself. You know, I practice enough, I do everything right. I'm out here, you know, away from family, making sacrifices all the time to make sure that I'm the best I can be in the course. You
mentioned that Walker Cup in 2015 and having a pretty successful time there, and it was a year later that you turned pro?
Yeah, a year later I turned pro. We were going to wait for another year for another Walker Cup. Turned pro, and I turned pro at 20 years old and probably not quite ready, but at the same time, you know, I had a lot of like adversity when I first turned pro in terms of not doing well, not enjoying, like, you go from playing like the US amateur against the best amateurs in the world thinking this is amazing, Walker Cups, these massive tournaments, to like playing in Cairo in a really low league pro event and no one around.
What tour like, do you start on when you turn pro?
So you don't start on any tour. You need to get it.
Wow,
you need to go and get a card. You need to go and play well. Like, there's no like recipe or secret. What you can do is what I did though is I turned pro off quite a hot amateur career where I could get invites. So you can get maximum 7 invites on the European Tour and Challenge Tour, plus your home event, which can be 8. If your home event has one. So I kind of run on invites at the start, you know. I had good sponsors, signed with Adidas and TaylorMade, and, you know, they were all helping me get invites. Management company was Niall, and, you know, I everything was going really well. So got invites with really
I think
good
you
tournaments.
earned that though off the back of a good amateur career.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I turned pro when I did. Looking back, was I probably ready to turn pro? Probably not. But at the same time, it got me ready to be like where I am now. Like I look back, sometimes even the way I was built, you know, my swing, some of the shots I was hitting, I was like, oh no, I wasn't ready. But now I'm like, it made me realise by playing these big hard courses and challenge tour events, like I need to get better at this, I need to get better at that, I need to get better at this, where you can get away with them in amateur events because maybe the courses might not be as penal. Then all of a sudden
They're not set up as tough.
Exactly. Then the pin's like right on the edge of the water, and the other side is like a deep bunker, and the rough's like, and you're like shit. Like how'd I get? So you're just working on shots, flights, soft flights, drivey flights, high ones, drawing it, fading it, like everything.
You really have to develop your game.
Absolutely. You can't leave like any. I always say this. I'm moaning about it a lot. It's like my dad's like, you can't leave any stone unturned. Like even if I have a week off and I come back to play, like it's just not quite there. I've got to be practicing all the time just to make sure like it's just on the end of my fingertips, all these shots, like a little draw, a soft one, a high one. You know, if I'm in the bunker and the pin's tucked to the right, like a wee soft spinny cutty one. You know, if it's long left the pin, I might use less club and hit a kind of low drivey drawy one. You know, like the margins in golf are so small, like a centimetre on the ground here and there, hitting these different shots. It's everything, and you've got to just like perfect it. And you're never really going to get it totally perfect, but if you get it as close as possible, then you're thereabouts.
You said that first couple of years was quite tough, and I've heard you say in interviews before that 2018, 2019, when you're trying to get that card and move up to the main tour from the Challenge Tour, was probably one of the hardest parts of your career.
Yeah, I mean, like, I played on Challenge Tour every week around with Bob McIntyre, and he got his card and was doing well, and then I just missed mine, and I thought, I'll get it next year. Next year, room with like my other friends, Connor and Grant, doing it every week on Challenge Tour, and I just missed mine. They get theirs, and I'm like, what am I missing? Next year again, close, but this time I get over the line, and I'm like, I've got it here. And I think actually in hindsight, looking back, like not getting my Challenge Tour, not getting off the Challenge Tour, mate, was probably the best thing that could have happened. Because I was just like, as soon as I got on the main tour, I was like, I'm not letting this slip. You know, 5 events later, I was standing there with a trophy I'd won. So,
and that's incredibly rare for somebody to make the step up and progress that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, like it took Colin Montgomery 52 events to get his first win. You know, it didn't take that long for me, thankfully. But you know, it never ends. Obviously, to have half the career Colin Montgomery's had is amazing. Would be obviously unbelievable. But you know, I'm obviously on my own path and just like pretty cool to kind of put your name on the same kind of
platform as these guys. Yeah,
absolutely.
You're coming through a really cool time in Scottish golf with Bob McIntyre, Connor Simon you mentioned there. How helpful is it to have guys like that around you that are all pushing towards the same goal?
Yeah, it's funny, like some people ask me that and they're like, oh, you know, friends with Bob and Connor and Grant and all these like Scottish players and even like English players that are doing really well, and like we don't even talk about golf when we talk. We just like take the piss at each other, tell each other what we're rubbish at, you know, call each other fat, you know, just like random things that we do when we're having a laugh, like any boys do. But then, you know, when we're out there, we just want to beat each other. It's just the way it is. And it's good fun. We just have a good laugh together. But don't get me wrong, when the going does get tough, you know, missed a couple of cuts in the middle of the year, like Bob would text me saying, oh, good pal, like what's going on? And I was, I'm fucking no putting that well. And he goes, I've started working with this putting coach. I've been doing a bit of this. So, you know, we are kind of there for each other, and we're all good friends, and it's really a healthy rivalry. I must admit, like I think Bob's, we've been playing since we were 12 together growing up, and always had a bit of a rivalry. But just how he's handled like everything the last couple of years, I think is just unbelievable. Like
it's pretty
so
inspiring
impressive.
to watch.
I think people don't realise how strong, I mean, he is mentally. Like I remember at the Scottish Open, he was saying like, "This is the one I want. This is the one I want," and then he won it. And it was like, how can you go and say that before the event, then go and actually do it? I'd be like, feel like I'm putting too much pressure on myself or whatever. But
everyone's different though, Ewan.
Yeah.
There may come a time in the future where that sort of language is really helpful for you.
Yeah.
But you recognise at this point in time that it might put pressure on you.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, yeah, you're right. It's just worked that well for him there and then. You know, obviously helped his psyche when he was on the course. He just was so into that event, and he got it done. You know, the week before I won in Germany, and I felt like in the back of my head that I had a really good chance all week. I was playing so well in practice. I was in contention the 2 weeks before it. The course was just aligned for me. I loved the vibe around Munich and the full place. But I was I just in my head I was thinking I quite fancy it this week, but I wouldn't, you know, ever
Didn't verbalise
say
it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you know when you won that in July and it got you your place at the Scottish
Yeah.
Open? It confirmed it, didn't it?
No, not the Scottish Open, the Open.
The actual Open itself. So
Yeah.
that's right. Because I remember you winning that, and then for Royal Troon.
Yeah.
Because what I thought was really nice, but also a funny thing, is the number of like people I had on my Instagram on a personal basis sharing you with the trophy
Yeah.
to their story. Like everyone was really like proud and happy
Yeah.
for you. And I love people celebrating victories. But what I find challenging sometimes is see the days where you were missing cuts. Nobody was sharing you. And it's a real shame because that's sometimes the times when you need it. Of course you want to ride the crest of the wave and the euphoria of winning and everyone's on your team, and that's great.
Yeah.
But I also wish, like particularly from like a Scottish British mentality, that we were like, oh, Ewan's having a bit of a challenge this season. Like when you were on the challenge tour, missing those cards by a couple of places 2 years in a row, like that's when you want people to be like, keep going, bro.
Absolutely,
Let's get it.
Yeah, I know it's a funny one how it works, but at the same time, I kind of get it. I'm like, it's kind of awkward to message someone if they're not doing well, or I think your true friends are just messaging you about random things.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really know if I would want someone to message me if I was doing bad to say hard luck. I'd probably look and go, oh, whatever. Like, I'm fine. You know? So there's a fine line there. There's a balancing act. You know, at the same time, when I am winning tournaments and, you know, doing well, I remember seeing on Twitter someone sharing that, like, on the Saturday of the Open, there was only one player not to make a bogey the full day, and it was me. I was shot bogey free that day, 17 pars and a birdie. And I remember thinking, like, that guy's gave me so much abuse on Twitter. Like, I'm not even going to retweet that or get involved in that, but it's good to know that he knows, you know. There's a really, really cool story, though. Was after I won in Qatar, it was amazing. Just won. And a few weeks before, I was leading by 4 shots after 3 rounds in Kenya. I totally blew it. I was so nervous. A few weeks later, I won. And then a few weeks after that, I'm playing in Belgium, in the Belgian Open, and I'm on one of the greens, and obviously just won, so I'm on TV, everything's going well, and I was like 5 under for the day. I'm confident, and I missed like a 5-foot putt for par, and I was like swearing, shouting, ball. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, of course you can.
I'm like, fuck off, that's fucking shite. And how does that go that way? And I'm getting my caddy, and I'm like, how can you think that goes? You know, all this, and still finished my round, shot like 4 or 5 under, all good. And I go on Twitter, and someone, a South African caddy I'd never heard of, tweeted. Have you heard about this?
No, keep going.
Tweeted saying a video of me shouting and balling on TV, swearing, whatever, and saying, look at Ewen Ferguson's attitude here. I hope the tour fine him. It's awful. He's got a swing on par with. He's got a short game on par with Happy Gilmore and a swing like a caddy. Mark my words, he'll never win on tour again. And I just thought, oh, I love this. I says, I'm going to win and I'm going to get it back to him. A couple of months later, I'm like, that was another trophy. And I just reposted his post and said, happy learned how to putt.
Oh, Ewan.
And it was absolutely brilliant, and I thought it was so good. And because, like, after I won, like, Rangers invited me into, like, the Rangers.
I remember this.
Yeah. So we're doing all that stuff. A lot of Rangers.
I think it was the Hearts game you came out at, or one of the games. I remember being in the stand.
It was the first game was against Celtic. Aaron Ramsey was playing, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to go on the pitch with a trophy?" And I was like, "No chance! Like, I'm not getting shouted at, abuse, whatever." But Rangers fans were like, had my back so much, and they still do on Twitter. So when I retweeted that, I had so many likes, so many retweets. The Rangers fans were just like jumping all over me. I was thinking like, "Oh, this is why Twitter's so good." And And the guy actually said on his tweet, "I'll bet you £100 he never wins again." At the end of it, and sure enough, he actually tweeted me back when I put that out there and said, "I'm sorry, Ewan, I was wrong. You're a brilliant golfer, and I'll give you £100 next time I see you." I've still not got the £100 yet, but you know, it was a moral win.
Do you sometimes feel you need that little bit of niggle when somebody says you're crap or he's overrated?
I read everything. I always get messages. I get messages all the time on. Sometimes I turn my message requests off and stuff like that because I get such a hard, like people, a lot of bettors, gamblers, when you lose their money and stuff. Sometimes I message back just saying, I'm just keeping your odds high. Yeah, I'm not messed up, so I'm keeping your odds high. But
I'll be a good bet for next week.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I can't not read them. I just read them. I search my name and I just look and I'm like, can't believe they're saying that.
What do the likes of a sports psychologist say about that? Do they encourage you to do
that? Probably not. But they know I'm a little bit like different in my own wee way, and it proper gets my back up. It makes me want to play well so much. Like I hone right in when that kind of stuff happens. So I read everything. You know, I'm on it all the time.
Do you screenshot and put stuff away for later?
Always screenshotted that one. You know, I'd sent it. I'm just on it all the time, reading stuff, good, bad. You know, even funny things, just like, what was you wearing today? That's an awful outfit. And I'm just like, I love that. It's so good. You know, I think it's actually quite funny, some of the stuff.
Golf attire's come a long way, though, since we were juniors. Like, you were always a well-dressed wee guy, but you were, like, you definitely lean into that side of things, don't you?
I do, and I did. I've been with Puma the last 4 years or something. I loved it so much. I was so passionate about it on social media and everything. But we're not together anymore as of January 1. That last week was my last tournament with them, which is quite sad. But you know, I feel like I'm ready to kind of go my own way now and try and find my own style.
There's so many more cool, even smaller brands now. Like I see some of the stuff on Instagram that gets pushed my way because I like the odd golf video. The ads will get hit me with like.
I'm always looking at these little smaller brands. There's so many like little off brands, not just like a sport brand. I'm kind of trying to search for my own wee look and see what looks quite cool. So I'm quite interested for that for next season.
Yeah, nice. We talked about sports psychologist. What does the team for a pro golfer look like when you go to a tournament?
Well, I turn up. I've got my coaches there, full swing coach there every week. Jamie Goff, he's half Swedish, half Scottish. Lives in South Africa, and he's Richard Goff's brother. So I like keeping it in the
family.
Which is quite fun. And Richard comes and watches a lot of tournaments because of that, which is really nice. But he's there every week. Love that. What a coaches Pavon, and who's obviously done really well. Christian Bezuidenhout, Ryan Fox, Hao Tong Lee, Andy Sullivan, like proper golf. He's coached Olazabal, Jimenez. So much experience, and he's really helped me come on. So work with him, he's there all the time. My caddy, who's there every week, Stevie, lovely guy. And then I have my psychologist who would come to maybe like 8 events a year, more phone call stuff, and he'll come to the big ones to kind of there. Putting coach, who's there quite a lot. And I've got a full-time physio that I travel with. He comes to about 12 a year, but his team, he's the head physio, and his team will always be there. So like Kim and a couple of other people working for them will always be there, and it's just constantly try to make sure your body's all right, making sure your head's in a good place.
And then your technique, of course.
Yeah, technique, everything, just making sure you're good. And some weeks it's just not there, and it's nothing to get that down about. It's just, I think before it would get me more down. Now I'm just like, I mean, I remember I was playing up in Crans Montana in Switzerland, Amiga Masters, and I missed the cut by a shot. I missed a 5-footer on the last hole, missed the cut by a shot, and I was raging. The next week the tournament was in Denmark, and I walked off and walked by full team. Back to my hotel, they were like, "Oh, where are you?" I was like, "I'm going home. I'm getting the first flight back to Scotland. Like, I'm done." And they were like, "Coach, you're staying this weekend. You're practicing. You're playing Denmark next week. You're practicing. You're not going home." And I was like, I'm going home raging. After a wee sit down for a couple of hours, I thought, right, I'm going back, do some practice. But you feel like an idiot when you're practicing the weekend after missing the cut and stuff. So I was out there practicing all
Guess
weekend.
that's sore for the ego, isn't it? Because your mates and the guys that you want to be competing
playing,
against.
you know, guys are all there playing. Everyone's watching. Good luck, and good luck today, mate. You know, other people in the crowd or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not even playing. You know, you feel like a bit of an idiot. But then I practiced that a full week, and I didn't play that well in crayons, but I just missed a putt to make the cut, small putt. Got on the tee the next week in Denmark, flushed it in the first. I was on it, and Oliver Wilson made a 72 footer on the 17th and made an unbelievable par in the last one, beat me by a shot, and I finished second. And I remember thinking, just nearly won again there. Like, if I didn't stay and practice that weekend. So sometimes making the cut and doing like so well all the time, it's not realistic, but first of all, it's not that bad to do bad. Like, if I made the cut
how you
there
respond,
yeah, if I made the cut there and finished 40th, I'd have probably went the next week, made the cut and finished 40th again. So what? You know what I mean? But I missed the cut by a shot, and I was like, ready to go home now. All of a sudden, I practiced all weekend, felt like I was just on it. Swing felt great all of a sudden. Went the next week, nearly won. It's like, so you can kind of learn from some of the little bad things and really catapult yourself.
In terms of your team, I know you've changed caddy a couple of times. How important is the relationship with your caddy?
Super important. I've had the same caddy for the last 3 years now. And then in Madrid, there, a month ago, I had a shot on the very first hole of the tournament. It was blowing a hoolie, wasn't expecting it. Got in the first hole of the tournament, out of bounds just over the green, and I've hit a shot right down the pin, and it's went straight over the green out of bounds. And I thought, I was just prepped for so long for that shot. And I finished my caddy after that week, after 3 years together. I was just so raging. Got another guy caddying for the next bunch of weeks. He'd done Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and just missed my caddy that I originally had, and just phoned him and was like, look, mate, I need you back. So he's back on the bag after a little
a lover's tiff.
A lover's tiff, and we're all good again. But you know, things like that happen sometimes. Like, honestly, it's like having a girlfriend. It's like, it really is. It's such a close relationship. You know, you're with them more than your girlfriend probably. You're traveling all the time. You're proper trying to get better. You're falling out over stuff. You're making up over stuff. You're trying to work on the future, all those things. So it's a really fickle relationship that you've got to get right.
I think in a high pressure environment, you're bound to snap at different points.
Yeah.
And it's just about knowing what is an acceptable thing to say, even in the heat of the moment, and what's not.
Absolutely. I've said so many things I regretted so much. And after the round, I'll be sitting having my lunch and I'm like, I'm so sorry for saying what I said.
But experienced guys on the tour that have caddied for other guys will know what it's like. Whereas
Absolutely.
I guess if you maybe had a caddy all the way through your amateur career and then went on the pro tour and he didn't quite understand that environment, you're probably even more likely to fall out.
Definitely. Like, that's why I like him so much. He handles things I say so much. Like, I'll hit a shot, it's not even that bad, and just be like, that is so bad. Like, I'm retiring. You know, like, I'm done. I'm going to go down a new route. I'm finding, and then like, I make the putt, and I'm like, love golf again. You know, and it's just like, and he just lets that go over his head. What I've just said, it's like such an art to it. It's such, you need to be really good at reading people and reading personalities. It's so tough. I mean, like, even me saying stuff like that, obviously I don't mean it. Like, I'm thinking, you know, of course, but in the heat of the moment, you just say little stupid things just because you're raging, and just to kind of, they're little like safe, with my psychologist will always work, they're little like safety things. You're just saying it to protect yourself. Like, if you're like, you know, and like you're close to like making the cut, you're in the cut line, and you can act like you don't care a wee bit. It's to protect yourself, so that if you do miss the cut, it's like, I wasn't really trying. You are trying. I'm always like trying to recognize when that's coming in, because a couple of times, even if I've been in contention, I'll start being like, okay, it doesn't matter if I don't really
Top
care
five
that much.
would be fine.
Yeah,
Top 10's
all that
fine.
stuff. I don't really care if I've won there. You know, I don't really care. It's like, no. I'm just trying to protect myself here in case I fail.
That's really dangerous if that creeps in.
All the time, it creeps in every sport. You can act like you don't care. Footballers do it. Everyone does it. I watch it. It protects yourself. Like, okay, I wasn't really trying. See, if I did try, I'd probably done it. It's like, would you though? It's like, you're just trying to protect yourself. So it's like, I feel it coming sometimes. It happens a lot of times where I'm right on the cut number, because no one wants to miss a cut. And I feel myself going, you know, hitting a drive extra hard or something, and kind of recoil and not really looking. I'm like, I'm doing that thing again. I've got to get back on to really focusing.
It's great that you recognise that though. and younger Ewan would have benefited from that 100%. And that's why at 28 you're going to be a better golfer at 30. Maybe even a better golfer at 35 if your body keeps progressing and keeps allowing it to.
Absolutely. It's like amazing, like the life things you just learn through golf. It's a proper lifestyle. You play golf, you know what it's like. It's like the ups and downs, even in a round of golf. It's mad.
Especially for me, Ewan.
Yeah. Imagine doing it in bloody Singapore or Japan or China or, you know, somewhere like that when you're so far away from home and you're dealing with these ups and downs. It's like recognising all the little battles you're having to deal with day to day.
How much do you use data to inform your practice routine or how you're going to play?
I'm on data golf like all the time. I was stretching last night and we're watching like Netflix, me and my girlfriend, and she's like, "You're on that data golf again, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yep." I just always looking, not even just for that, I'm always looking at like other players I've played with, and I'm thinking, he was really good at that. And I'll like check his stats and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, he is really good at that." And then I'll be like, "Oh, his technique was a bit more like this." And I'll go and kind of think about that, and or I'll bring it up with my coach and say, "What do you think about him doing it
You're
like that?"
You're a proper student of the game, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, just proper into it all the time. Even just like watching golf, like I'll play and then I'll go back and watch PGA Tour. And I know all the courses, like not even played half of them. I just know them. And it's like, that's shocking.
That's coming though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a lot of belief in you to do that.
I've been close now the last couple of years on that. I'm not in like a mad rush to get to the PGA Tour. I'm not like, I need to get to the PGA Tour, because like I'm really content doing what I'm doing here, living in Dubai, playing on DP World Tour. It's super fun. It's all I've wanted to do. Being on the PGA Tour would be a big change, but I feel like it's something that's coming, and my game's definitely progressing that way, and I've been close the last couple of years and getting a PGA Tour card and kind of just missed out. But you know, I've played in PGA Tour events and done well in the Open and against all these guys, so I know like it will be there. Not in a mad crazy rush, but I feel like in my own time I'll get there, and you know, I'll be ready. As I said, I know all the courses.
That's unreal. You mentioned Dubai, and we're getting to speak while I'm here as well. What brought you here?
It's funny, a lot of people always say like, oh, for the tax and all that stuff, which is obviously as a bonus, but it was, honestly, I was out here practicing all the time anyway. Like I couldn't practice at home that much. I was always out here practicing, and I was playing the DP World Tour finals. I think you've heard the story, haven't you? I was playing the DP World Tour finals, first round, and I was playing with John Ram. We're walking down the first, and he's just like, "Oh, where do you live then?" I think I asked him first, to be fair. I was like, "Oh, you're still living in Arizona?" He's like, "Yeah, I've got a family there, I love it." And he's like, "Where do you live?" And I'm like, "Oh, Glasgow." And he's like, "Glasgow, Scotland?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, "Why?" I remember thinking, yeah, why do I? I remember it was in my head all that day. I didn't play that great that day, and obviously John Ram was just being John Ram. He was playing incredible. And I remember thinking, coming off that, and had dinner with my brother and my dad and stuff, and I was just like, I think I'm just going to move here. I'm always here practicing. Just get my own car, my own apartment, just get my old Emirates ID sorted up. Like the tour can sort all that for you, because you know, you're a professional, you can get your ID pretty easily and just do it properly. So went ahead and did that, and ever since, to be fair, my game has got better. Like that week I played with John Ram, I finished 42nd in the tournament, and I thought the course was super hard. I was like, that course is really difficult.
Which course was it out here?
It was the Earth course in Jumeirah. From the back, they make the rough so thick, and I was thinking, wow, it's so hard. The next year, after living out here for a year, like I was in the second last group playing with Hogard. He won it. You know, I finished in the top 10, and I shot 8 under like one of the days. You know, I'm nearly shooting the course record. I'm thinking, all of a sudden, like this course isn't that hard. I knew it. I was hitting it a bit better. I knew how to hit it a bit harder, a bit further. You know, I all of a sudden had a game that was a bit more like I could do more with the ball. And I think that was just due down to like having the facilities, playing big courses out here in t-shirts rather than being back home playing kind of small little wet courses in the freezing cold with a jacket on, a beanie hat, and a snood.
Yeah, you've got to be in the right environment. In the same way, at 14, you went out to the States.
Definitely,
you have to be in the place that's going to progress you the most.
I've always kind of took kind of big big risks in my career and moving about and really trying to get better. And I think it is tough. Like I missed like my nephew's birthday. It was a few weeks ago, and it's shit that you kind of think, I wish I was just at home doing that. Definitely have one day a week out here still where I'm like, what am I doing? Like this isn't.
Have you got a good network here?
Yeah, now that I've been out for a couple of years, I've got friends that play golf. Members of clubs. I've got my girlfriend's out here with me now. I've got loads of things going on, so much better that. But at the same time, still nowhere like home. You're not just down at your mum and dad's house just to chat, and all of a sudden like that would kill like 3 hours, and you're thinking, I'm going home, better get home now, or I'll stay for dinner. Now here I'm like got the full day literally to myself, which feels weird. Nowhere just to nip, just to chat to your pals or chat to your, it's different out here. I'll play golf with them. You'll meet up for a coffee or little things like that. But it's got loads of benefits and loads of. I feel like it's going to give me the best advantage of being the best golfer I can be. So that's
which is the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really cool, Ewan. Are there any things that you think you made like a mistake in your career that you would go back and redo?
Yeah, like I said to you, I felt like I turned pro too early. But at the same time, I don't know if it was a mistake because then I don't know if I would have won when I was 25.
Were you with the same agency back then? Because I know that's been a big thing for you.
I first signed with Bounce, they're called. Same as Bob McIntyre. Lovely big guy. Ian Stoddart, cracking guy. But then I started getting quite close with Niall Horan, who's also the One Direction singer. I had loads of friends that were kind of under his stable that were playing. And I was practicing with them all the time, hanging about with him, and I thought, seemed like the easiest route to go down. He helped me quite a bit. And do I have any regrets? Like, things that I think are regrets at times, but then I'm like not sure if maybe they did help me or made me be able to do what I'm doing today and live the life I am today because of what I did. So I'm not too sure.
There's a concept I learned about on the podcast through a psychologist from the US called Dr. Meg J, and it's called identity capital.
Yeah.
And it's like a bank account that's just filled up with all your experiences. And at different times in your life, you get to cash in on those experiences. So that time turning pro when you felt a little bit too young or not quite ready, that time you went to Japan, you felt so homesick and you questioned, do I even want to be doing this?
Yeah.
These are all experiences that will hopefully at some point be able to be paid in down the line when the times get tough in other areas. And it could be really nice experiences that get put in your identity capital as well, but they all add up. Yeah, and as long as they're not like catastrophic, then it can be something that can be beneficial.
And now that I've had some a bit older and stuff, there's times where I'm quite down and I remember I think like, that's okay, because remember the last time I was down, I bounced back and done that, so you have like little moments of times where it's just not quite there, but I always feel like I said, quite inwardly confident that it'll all sort itself out, and I'm quite a chill guy off the course, and I feel like I've got a good like setup plan, good team around me to kind of do the best I can. Yeah,
it's been really cool to watch from afar you, and having known you when you were a young guy, it's been really cool to see the progress that you've made, and I'm excited to see where you keep going. I was going to ask you maybe what your goals are for turning 30, but I want you to keep them under your hat because they're obviously really, really big and important. But what I will ask you is where the listeners can continue the conversation with you. Where should they head towards?
What do you mean?
Instagram probably, or Twitter?
Instagram. I think Instagram, if you want to send me any abusive tweets, that'll get me no, they're going to encourage you. That'll get my back up. Go for it. I quite like reading them. They're quite good fun, and they inspire me. So yeah, I'm at UboF on Instagram and Twitter. Everything's there. I'm quite open on there. I put everything I'm doing kind of day to day, practicing, life on tour, normal life stuff. Try and keep it as professional as possible, but yeah, slide into my DMs and we can have a good laugh.
Beautiful stuff. That'll be linked in the show notes. Thank you to you, Ewan, and thank you to the listener. I'll be back to speak to you all again very, very soon.